Hey, howdy, hey, everybody. Scott here, and today we're going to talk about instant herbal medicine because sometimes you just need some relief right now, and you don't have time to wait. This presentation is all about when you don't have time to infuse an oil for a couple of weeks, or you don't have time to maybe even make a tea and wait for it to cool. You want something right now. You have a pain or a discomfort or something, a crying child, and you've got to get that taken care of. So that's what we're going to talk about. Now, first of all, just remember your basic first aid. You can apply pressure to a bleeding injury, put some cold on to dull the pain, take inflammation down. Go to the doctor if you need to. I'm not a doctor, so this isn't medical advice. If it sounds like medical advice, obviously we've had a miscommunication because I'm not a doctor. So you're going to have to use your good sense and your good judgment to decide when it is time to go see a doctor or go to the emergency room. So there you go. So most of this presentation is assuming that you're already using the basic first aid. Raise a cut above the heart so that it doesn't bleed as much because the blood pressure is lower. That kind of stuff. Okay, that being said, let me start with my first trick, which is blender infusions. A regular infusion, a hot infusion, you pour boiling water over the herbs and you have to let it set for 5-10 minutes. But if you want something right now, you can just put the herbs in the blender with the water and hit blend, and let it go for 10 or 20 seconds. It is not 100% as powerful as an infusion that you let steep for 15 minutes. Are definitely not as powerful as an overnight one. But it's still going to basically get the job done. You might put in a little extra of the herb to up the potency a little bit, but that's one way to make it instant. And then after it's blended, just pour it through a cloth to filter out the herb. Or drink it with the herb, actually, because the herb is the medicine, and there's no reason you can't just drink the whole thing. You can do herbal oil infusions this way, too. It'll be hard to clean out your blender, but you can do it. Just pour your oil into the blender with the herb, get that thing going. Sometimes it might take a little longer with oils. It depends on what you're working with, but that's another instant one, another way to make instant oils, and you can filter it out the same. Okay, now let's start looking at specific problems. First, let's talk about just pain, external, so basically skin. One of the things that's really good is coconut oil. I will be talking about herbs, but I'm also going to be talking about mostly kitchen things that you just have handy. And coconut oil, it does a lot of things. It's antimicrobial, antifungal, and it helps, it's anti-inflammatory, helps to bring down pain. Good for all kinds of skin topical things. Olive oil is too. It helps nourish the skin. It's got vitamins you can absorb. Plantain, yarrow, and chamomile all make great poultices for pain, and you'll see them come up on some more of these slides. They're good for a few things, but all of those have ability to take away pain. Sometimes in using a different mechanism, but they're all good for that. That plantain in particular is excellent for stings. I think I may have stings on here again, but in case I don't, use it for stings and bites. Okay, there's all different kinds of internal pain. If you have some sore or tight muscles, my favorite go-to is a ginger poultice. If you have wintergreen essential oil, that's another really good one, and that's another instant. You can, I was going to say oatmeal. That's more for surface area topical stuff, external pain. Yeah, but the ginger, just get the powder, scoop the powder out into a bowl, add some water to make a paste, and whatever's hurting, I'll pull a back muscle every once in a while, and I'll have to have my kids help me glop it onto my back, and then I'll lay a towel on it to help hold it all in, and I'll just lay on the ground, and that just gradually heats up, and it feels so good. It helps to draw blood to that area and relaxes everything. I tell you, ginger poultice is some good stuff. For digestive stuff, peppermint is really good. I wouldn't use it for a heartburn, reflux, or ulcer type of thing because it does classify as a bitter, so it stimulates digestive juices to be produced. It never really bothers me that way. It also has an analgesic, a pain-killing property. It kind of cools things. you'll see kind of see what kind of affinity you have for it if you want to use it with a reflux type thing. I have a really strong affinity for peppermint. There's just almost never a situation where peppermint wouldn't help me a little bit. But if you don't want to use the peppermint, a strong chamomile tea is great. It really calms everything down in the digestive tract and just says, hey, it's going to be all right. We're going to calm down. Nobody has to throw a fit. We don't have to have our tantrums and panic. It's all right. Let's just take a breath. We'll reassess the situation and move on from there. So chamomile is a great one for the digestive tract. These are especially good warm. If you use warm water to make them, it helps to pull everything out. And the warmth is just soothing for your bowels anyway. Marshmallow is another good one. Not the candy, but marshmallow, the plant, the root. Or common mallow works. A lot of the hibiscus plants, if you have one that's edible, a lot of those are good. They have those very mucilaginous, slimy polysaccharides, and it coats everything. And they're another good one to calm to calm everything down. These would be especially good for reflux or for ulcers and that kind of thing. Irritable bowel type cramps. Chamomile is really good for that one too. If you have a Crohn's or a colitis. If you don't have marshmallow, but you want to use something similar, you can use okra. They're in the same family. It's also very slimy. You can do the blender thing, or you can chop it up. You can just eat the okra pods. Sorry, but yeah, you just want to get that slime in you, and that usually soothes things down. For nerve pain, so we're talking, on the skin. Well, this soaks through pretty good, but these two are especially good at the skin level if you use them topically. Are cayenne and chamomile. You wouldn't think that cayenne would be good for pain, because it's hot, and it warms things up at first, but then it also has a deadening effect. And you would usually you use it in an oil. So you can do that instant oil thing. I've never tried it in an instant oil. I am making an educated guess that it would still work in the instant oil because, just plain the pepper just on your skin or in your eye is still hot. So I don't see why it wouldn't work in an instant oil, but I've never tried it in that particular way. It is used in a lot of pain creams like arthritis and stuff. Which actually that's from arthritis is the cayenne oil. Chamomile is the one that I was thinking is more on the skin when you put it on topically. But just make a poultice, just dump some into a bowl, add enough water where you can make a paste out of it, and then spread it on where you have that pain, and cover it up, and it calms everything down. Everybody take a breath. And just for other pain in general, if you have a willow or any of those related trees, you can chew on the green branches, the young branches. The outer bark has it's basically an aspirin that it has. It may take more, like if you were to shave it off and powder it up, it may take more of the bark than it would a isolated, concentrated aspirin tablet. But that's a good one for pain. Doesn't tend to give people stomach ache the same way that aspirin does. If you have pain in the mouth, which can be so frustrating, if you suck on a clove, you got a little fruit fly over here, that helps. Or just kind of like if you have a tooth over here, you can kind of just set the clove in between your tooth and your cheek, and just kind of let it sit there. Of course, if you have medicines already made up, like a clove tincture or something, use that. These are just your instant solutions if you don't have something already made up. The yarrow root, that'll numb things down if you chew it. And just a saltwater gargle. If you have a sore throat, sometimes that's just so soothing. Just put a couple of teaspoons in some water and warm water and gargle it, and the warmth soothes everything. And the salt water, helps to pull out the inflammation, helps to pull the extra moisture out. If you have ear pain, there's a few things we can do for that. Actually, herbs are really good for ear pain. Onion juice is one of our favorites. You can also use garlic juice. I've got a little girl though that she just doesn't really Well, she hates having stuff in her ears anyway. She doesn't respond particularly well to the onion juice. You can put it in warm coconut oil. Sometimes that feels a little better. And the coconut oil is also antimicrobial, so if you're dealing with an infection, it helps. If you want to use that blender method and add in some mullein or St. John's wort, that really helps too, and it helps knock out the infection. It helps take down the pain really well. Don't use it if there's a perforated eardrum. You don't want it to go through that and get down into the inner ear. That's a mess. Let's not do that. You know you have a perforated eardrum if there's all this pressure and pain, and then there's a loud pop, and it hurts really bad for a second, and then the pain goes away. I had one of those once. It was quite an experience. For nausea, peppermint is great, chamomile is great, ginger is great. They're all great. If you're actively throwing up, sometimes throwing up is what you need to do. You might just want to let your body get that out. Sometimes when you're really nauseous, you would rather just throw up and be done with it. But if you need to stop the vomiting and you can't keep any of these herbs down, you can apply them topically. It doesn't get to the stomach as directly, but it'll surprise you that how effective it still is. Just make poultices of it, stick it on the belly. You can even do an infusion and spray it on your belly, and just spray it every 10-15 minutes if you want to. More is better, and those chemicals will absorb through your skin and get into your bloodstream. To deal with bleeding, yarrow is my favorite. Yarrow just turns it off. Just get the leaves, mush them up, and stick it on with a little pressure, and it'll just turn that off. Shepherd's purse is another really good one. It's in the mustard family, and they work extra great together because they each stop the bleeding through a different mechanism, so they're even more effective. If you don't have those plants around, just a regular old tea bag will work. Black tea, that's what you want. You can wet it down and then lay it on whatever's bleeding. It has a lot of tannins, it's astringent, so it helps to kind of tighten and close up those blood vessels and stop the bleeding. For cuts and scrapes in general, coconut oil, olive oil, those are good. Take the pain out, help take care of any bacteria in there, start the healing process. Plantain, comfrey, and chamomile poultices. Those are great. Plantain is great for pulling on inflammation. Comfrey is an excellent healing accelerant. It stimulates cell division and gets that coming back together. Chamomile also is a healing accelerant, and it helps take the pain away. For bites and stings, see, I thought I had this slide in here. Plantain is probably my favorite. If you don't have plantain around there, you can slice a potato and stick that on, and it can help to pull some of the offending bug chemicals out of there, or whatever's bitten you or stung you. Also, just baking soda and water. Just make a paste of that. My parents used that with me when I was young and got stung by wasps. It just helps pull the venom out, takes the inflammation out. For burns, first thing, cool it off immediately. Or if it's a chemical burn, wash that stuff off before it continues to do damage. Then coconut oil, again, it keeps coming up because it just keeps being great stuff. And the olive oil. St. John's wort, if you will do a real quick blender infusion, that's another really good, that's a good plant for the burns. Aloe, especially for sunburns, and then marshmallow. Marshmallow helps to make that layer of slime to kind of protect it. Sometimes a burn's going to be real delicate and you won't want anything on it. In that case, you can do the sprays because sprays are very, very gentle. Blender up the herbs or whatever you're using with water. Put it in a spray bottle and you can spritz it on there. Nice, cool water. And that really helps. Oatmeal, I didn't put it on the list. Sunburns, oatmeal is good for sunburns. You want to let it soak in the water first and get real mushy. You don't want that dry, scratchy oatmeal. That wouldn't be any fun. For a fever, sometimes the body needs a fever. Sometimes you want to bring the fever down if it gets too high. How to approach this? We have 2 kids that get sick occasionally. We have 1 kid that never gets sick, and then we have a little girl that spikes a fever every time you look at her funny. And so for her, we'll just watch it and then try to keep it from getting too high. If the fever's too high, you can use chamomile and chickweed are both cooling. They just help to cool you down. Peppermint and yarrow help encourage you to sweat. They encourage you to sweat, so that brings your temperature down. Or if all else fails, a lukewarm bath really helps to bring the temperature down too. Not a cold bath, because then they can start to shiver and then it can spike the temperature back up. Just like a lukewarm, just what the body temperature ought to be. If that's what you're shooting for. You want bath water that's about the temperature that you want their body to be. If you've got a runny or stuffy nose, I've got some tips for that too. Most of these aren't even plants though, but holding your breath. There's a blood chemistry thing that happens. If you hold your breath until it becomes really uncomfortable, and then start breathing, but breathe through your nose. Don't breathe too much. Just breathe as much as you need to. Not 100% of the time, but the big majority of the time, that'll open your sinuses up and then you can breathe again. It's a really cool trick. A little exercise does wonders for opening you up, especially if you are holding your breath and exercising. That'll make it faster. There's these Dr. Mercola has a video. I think I might have a video of me doing these exercises, but Mercola has a video of these they're exercises to stimulate the production of brown fat, brown adipose tissue. And you breathe through your nose while you're doing those, and it really opens up your nose. It's amazing. Hot peppers are another really good one. Anything hot, really. It just stimulates your sinuses to open up, and it can. That's more for the stuffiness, but it's helpful with a runny nose too. And then drink a big glass of water. Drinking a big glass of water helps with a lot of things. Okay, I hope you liked the information. I hope it's helpful, and I hope you'll be able to use it in the future. Well, in best case scenario, you wouldn't have to use it, but should the time come, you'll have these tips and you can use these to help yourself, your family, or somebody around you. I'll make more videos in the future. I gotta write out these outros. Hi, I will make more videos. I are video guy. I'm really good at this. See me being good. I am being good. You can give me money on Patreon if you want to. That's fun. I like that. I'm gonna go now. Bye.